What is going on, everybody? Yeah, welcome to the channel. If you're seeing this on the replay, this is a live stream that I'm doing today. The video is uploading right now for today. I will just take any comments pretty much. I will say and disclaim it by today is going to be the craziest slate. If you haven't heard that already from somebody else, I know Awesomo's streaming right now as well. Probably the craziest slate, or at least the biggest headache of a slate that you will find really ever in the NBA. You get 12-game slate late in the season. Rotations, for the most part, haven't been crazy in terms of mid-game rotations. We get the news beforehand. We can sort of project what things should look like, and that's been relatively stable. But just in terms of playing all these dust types of players, and when you throw a wrench in that Draftkings was pretty aggressive all around in pricing today. Tons of guys priced up. Tons of guys like Lamont or Walt Lemon Jr., or Lamont Jr. is now $4,700. You have Mitchell Robinson now up to $7,100. You get a $9,500 Ben Simmons. You get tons of players just priced up. D'Angelo Russell is now in the 9K range once again. All across the board, we'll be seeing guys. Dion Waiters is 6K. Whenever you go and try and look at a salary and say, ooh, can I get them in? Are they a value play? They're probably in the mid 6K range, if not higher now. So a slate that is definitely very tough to really feel comfortable about paying up for a stud, at least as of right now. You do have guys in the 4K range that make sense. The video I talked about, Jay Crowder, makes some sense today. Troy Brown getting huge minutes. You have some other guys like Luke Cornett, whose price wasn't as aggressively bumped up to 40-point games in a row. Should continue to see minutes with Noah Vonleh out, and DeAndre Jordan likely shut down for the year. Price came up from $4,100 to $4,700. But by far the most brutal matchup on the slate in terms of the power forward position, going up against this big Orlando team. Not something that I feel comfortable about in terms of getting my value in Luke Cornett today, who has been fantastic in a 2-game sample, but that is a 2-game sample, and now he's going up against this Orlando team. So I'm going to just get to the comments here. Pretty much just take any questions that you guys have. If I can find the comments on this live stream, that would be great. So yeah, just any questions that you guys have, I will take, and maybe I'll just switch back and forth to them. 6 people in here right now, nobody really commenting, which makes a lot of sense. Maybe it's 8 people, who knows. Interesting, one says 6, one says 8. So yeah, I will take any questions as this thing uploads. Yeah, the slate right now is looking pretty challenging, but here's the thing, I like these slates. I like the fact that there's a lot of news that you have to keep up with. Personally, it could be a headache, it could be a lot, it could be a full-time job today instead of a part-time job, like it is for most of us on most days in the NBA. But it's just overall a slate where a ton of people will make mistakes. The pros will also have a hard time today, so if you're trying to play middle stakes or anything really above $5, you have a little bit more of a balanced edge, especially in single entries, because there's just a ton to keep up with. This is not a slate where, on any NBA slate, you don't set a lineup at 5 or 4 or 3 or even 6 or even 6:30 and feel good. This is not a slate where you set a lineup at 7 when it locks and you still feel good. There's going to be 3 10 p.m. games tonight. There's going to be, 9 games that are after 7 p.m. lock. It's going to be a slate where you have to keep up with the news throughout the night, where late swapping to players who are out and finding value and things like that makes a ton of sense. It's going to be one of the craziest slates of the year, and DraftKings prize pools are back up. They realize that more games means more people probably going to be at least interested. We usually find incredible value on these slates. Guys in the 3K range that make a ton of sense. Right now, at least early on, I'm not finding that. I would imagine that something opens up throughout the day. But as you'll see in the video, there is a laundry list. There is 50 players right now that I just covered that are in some form or another on an injury list today. So that's just what we already expect. You can be damn sure that we expect some other things. I'll point out this is very interesting. I point this out in the video itself, but I'm highlighting this Toronto and Brooklyn game. Look, the East right now, Detroit, Brooklyn, Miami, and Orlando all are pretty much separated by 1 game for the 6 through 9 spots. One of those teams is not making it. Orlando plays New York today. They have the luxury of playing the Knicks today for what seems to be a pretty easy win. Detroit has a tough matchup against Indiana. Toronto plays Brooklyn today. And here's the thing. Toronto, the 2 seed, which they're a fully healthy team besides the fact that Kyle Lowry is somewhat limited right now, not playing his mid-30s minutes and playing more so around 28 to 30. They're a fully healthy team against a Brooklyn team that is not anywhere near them in terms of firepower outside of D'Angelo Russell. LeVert has been playing better, which they need. Dinwiddie's been playing meh. So Why is this game a 1.5 point spread? It leaves me wondering. I'm not sure. I would have imagined this game to at least be around 6, 5.5, 5, and I still would have been like, that's interesting. So this leads me to believe that maybe Kawhi Leonard will be sitting today, maybe Kyle Lowry, some players will be sitting today. Toronto pretty much locked into that 2 seed right now, not going to be catching the Bucks for the 1 seed. So I'm interested in that. The fact that I only saw a 1.5 point spread, and I think I'm pulling this incorrectly, I could be wrong, but the fact that I only saw a 1.5 point spread on this game where I don't think there's any injury news. I'm pretty sure right now everybody for Toronto is in outside of OG Anunoby's, which no real impact on the line there. So it's interesting to me to see that. If I am missing something, somebody can definitely tell me if somehow Kawhi's already been ruled out and I missed it. Siakam, again, this whole slate is priced up. You have an $8,000 Siakam. He makes a ton of sense if Kawhi Leonard and or Kyle Lowry are out. If they're in, paying $8K for Siakam is just tough based on the usage hit that he will take. Any comments yet? Good morning. Today is super tough. Yeah, it is. Daryl Jones' message was retracted. I don't know why that happened, Daryl. I have no idea why that happened. Let me just get the comments section on a separate page so I can just do this. I'm working all of this from my laptop right now. Cool. That should make it a little bit easier for us in terms of me just being able to talk to you and see the comment section. This is just the weirdest shit. Alright, so let's do this. Just bear with me while I do this. I'll check what the video's at too in terms of being uploaded. Siakam been killing me. It depends when you play him. If you play him when there's no Leonard, he's very likely not killed you. Even in blowouts, he's reached 50 burgers. Daryl says, "Morning, Sal. Man, you are." What does it say? Oh, okay, it's good. I thought it might have been a bad thing. It says, "Morning, Sal. Man, you are the best. Do what you do. Keep up the grind, sir. Super excited to see what you can do in the NFL." Yeah, Daryl, what's going on? I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I've been making these videos on a daily basis, and it's been a ton of fun. It's pretty much my routine now. I get up around 5:30, 6:30, do the research for an hour, hour and a half, walk on campus at Penn State. As you can see, do I even go to Penn State? Yes, I do. If the clothing and apparel doesn't indicate that. And yeah, I sit in a room and I make these videos, and then I start my day, and I'm usually set to go around 10, which is nice. I like getting up early, excited for the NFL. Obviously, it's a decent ways away. But yeah, I'm looking to do this as a career. You guys saw on Twitter yesterday, I mentioned it's still sort of a contest going for it. This right here, this video on my pin tweet, you can check it out. Trying to do that with CBS Sports. It's something that I'm just looking to do as a career, whether it's, here's the thing though, and a caveat with that. I want to do this as a career, but I would also like to do this stuff that I'm doing here, making my own independent videos on my own as well, and keep that going because I like doing it. I just enjoy being able to talk in a way that I'm not having to be filtered or limited in any capacity, whether I'm talking about just companies that I think are cool, or just if I'm talking about plays and not really having to conform to any norms or anything like that. So that's a little bit tougher to do, but yeah. What's going on, everybody that's in here? 11 of you in here. The video is uploading. The video should be soon. I mean, it's a long one today. It's like 37 minutes, and I cut things out too. So just a ton to talk about. It is a tough slate today, is what Aki says. It 100% is a tougher slate, I would say, just because it's late season and there's not only 50 guys on the injury report in some way or another today. There's also guys that will be on the injury report. There's also players that we don't have huge samples of going to be playing today. And there's also a very tight salary structure today. All of this is scary, but all this excites me because if you're somebody who keeps up with all of this, you will have an even bigger edge on people who don't. It's just that simple. Yeah, any questions, just throw them in here. I am all game. I know that Awesome, I believe, is streaming right now, so I'd imagine majority of the people who follow me right now are watching that live stream. I usually catch their strategy shows on the replay. I like to speed up the volume, things like that when I have a chance later in the day, when I'm at the gym, whatever it might be. Great content that they have over there, balancing MLB and NBA. For me, as a one-man show, is something that is just not going to be plausible right now. Have to wait for this NBA season to sort of wrap up. We'll get the playoffs, which I'll still cover playoffs, but they'll just be naturally smaller slates, since half the league won't be playing anymore on a night in, night out basis. So that's when the MLB coverage for me will start and kick up a little bit. To be completely honest with you, MLB takes a very back seat to, one, the NFL, and two, the NBA for me. Those sports I just, one, enjoy watching a ton more. MLB watching, I don't care what anybody says, it's boring. You could have your opinions and say that you like it. If you could sit through MLB games every single night and have fun, trust me, the pros that play DFS MLB aren't watching the games. Very few of them are. They're putting in the numbers. They're looking at the numbers from the night before. They're putting them in their algorithms, and they're entering max lineups. MLB is a bore to watch. In my opinion, it's something that you can put on in the background and do work while it's on and just look up, and you won't really miss anything. But if you're sitting there just spending 3 hours watching an MLB game, not doing anything else, it's probably a waste of time. What's going on, Jeff? Especially because there's 162 games, and unless you're talking about the first 3 games, which are exciting, MLB's back in the last week or two when playoffs actually matter, no other games that you're watching have any impact on your team for the most part. Who is your favorite player tonight, says Aki? No idea. Jeff says, thanks for helping me cash last night. That's all you, Jeff. That is all you. Aki says, who's your favorite player? Aki, I have no idea. Like, I won't know my favorite player on this slate. The video is successfully uploaded. I will not know my favorite player on this slate until 6:59 p.m. And that's not me just trying to be wise or anything like that. Like, that's when the news will come out. Until that's when I'll feel secure about my lineup somewhat. Early on, I think Ben Simmons is in a great spot. Like, favorite play on the slate, I don't know. I haven't built a lineup. I don't even know if I could fit Ben Simmons in. That's how tight these salaries are right now. I don't know if I could fit a guy over 9,500 or above in my lineup and feel confident, as opposed to going more balanced. I think today's slate is just screaming play a bunch of guys in the 6 to 7K range who all have 30 to 35 point floors or relatively stable projections around 30 to 35 and have ceilings in the 50s. You have guys like DeLon Wright who can do that. You have guys like Emmanuel Mudiay who can do that. Mitchell Robinson, guys like that, over me trying to get in a 10K player and playing 2 guys in the 4K range or even more that are just absolute dust who can maybe not even touch 25 for me today. It's scary. So in terms of who my favorite player is, in terms of who my favorite player is, I mean, early on, I'd probably lean towards Ben Simmons. He's in the higher range, but his matchup is just phenomenal. If Jimmy Butler is out, it's even bumped up more. The projection and the projected total, I don't know if the total is out yet. They're probably waiting on Jimmy Butler and some guys on the Atlanta side, Taurean Prince, and to see if John Collins is rested again. Maybe 240. The pace is around 108. It's a phenomenal game to target overall, but on a 12-game slate, I'm not really focused on targeting a specific game. If I was entering a ton of lineups into one tournament, then yeah, I'd game stack some games because there's always a chance that they go to overtime and you just get a ton of minutes. Jeff says, give yourself some credit, Sal. Great job. Keep it up. No, thanks. I appreciate it. I mean, yeah, I know this stuff takes work. I know that providing valuable content takes work, but it's just something that I like doing, and I can give you guys data and things like that, and you girls data and whatever it might take, but at the end of the day, you're the ones building the lineups. You're probably playing players that I would never even touch for one reason or another. There's a lot of ways that you are becoming sharper on your own than me actually doing it. If I was to build a lineup, give it to you, and you entered it, then it's okay. Nice job, you did that. That's not something that I do. So yeah, no, that's all you. Aki says, you were so right. Yeah, there's no way. Like, I have no idea who my favorite play is. On most nights, I don't know who my favorite play is because I don't build a lineup till later in the day. So, like, my favorite play might not even be viable on the slate, so they're not my favorite play. In a vacuum, and when people say that, they mean if nothing else mattered, if salary, if lineup construction, if none of that mattered, and other people at the price point around them, then yeah, I could pick a favorite play today. It would be James Harden, right? My favorite play would be the most expensive player, the guy who's likely to have a projection in the 60s, but that's not fair because the slate matters. So in terms of pay-up options, it's probably Ben Simmons right now, 50 burger in his back pocket, triple-double upside with no Joel Embiid, potentially no Butler, but not really positive. The salaries are extremely tight, and we could look through those. I'll let the video process another 5 or 10 minutes, and then that video will be up. I'll do all the editing, we'll be good to go. But I mean, let's just click all and look at the salaries. I'll tell you guys who are interestingly priced based on the way that Draftkings has been all year in terms of underpricing guys or just not being as proactive as they have been in past years. So, I mean, Harden's fine, Towns is fine, Booker fine, Lillard fine, Drummond finally fine for the past 2 games. Vooch back priced up, but where he should be. Simmons priced up, but I think that this is appropriate. I wish it was still 9K. Jokic fine. Leonard probably a little overpriced, but fine. Kyrie. Russell is now back to the 9K range, and really he should be. He's playing phenomenal. I mean, look at his game logs. There's this one game where they got blown out. He didn't get full run, 29 minutes, but he's been playing phenomenal. I mean, 45 fantasy points or more in pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of his last 8 games, and in those games are the ones where his minutes are now stabilizing closer to the mid-30s for the most part. He's been phenomenal, but his price is up. Luka's the only guy in this upper range that I think is underpriced. He's 8,800, but he hasn't been playing and he hasn't been getting full run. Randall with a 32-minute invisible minutes limit, but they've been pretty strict with it. I don't think that is very attractive. Rudy Gobert price is up, but I think he's one of my more likely guys to play today. So, Aki, you were asking my favorite plays on the slate. Like I said, if you're just joining, I have no idea. Ben Simmons for a pay-up option, I really like, and I like Gobert at 8,500 against this Phoenix team. Look, no DeAndre Ayton. If Ayton was in, I'd probably like Gobert more. Ayton's that bad of a defender, but with no Gobert in, I don't think no Ayton in, I don't think Dragon Bender and Rashawn Holmes are stopping Gobert today. Let's just look at some other guys who are priced up pretty significantly. You have Siakam in the 8K range. If all these guys on Toronto are healthy, I have no idea how anybody feels comfortable playing Siakam today. Look, it can totally be a contrarian play, but in that 8K range, his production, his usage just goes down a ton with those guys on the court. Butler, if he plays today, $7,900, a fantastic matchup against Atlanta, but for $7,900, there's a ton of other places I'd rather go. I'd rather go to Capella at $7,700, who's also priced up, but has a phenomenal matchup, but again, priced up. DeRozan's one of the only guys who's actually priced down today, so that's interesting. Tobias Harris, I talk about in the video. He's stabilized. He's very nice. Miles Turner's priced up to 73 minutes. Tough matchup, awful pace environment. John Collins coming back from an injury. I think a lot of people, if this Q tag stays by his name for a while, will jump off of John Collins. He's one of my more favorite plays, one of the more attractive plays in that mid-range if you try and go balanced today. 7,300 should come right in and play 31 minutes. I believe I have him in for today. Best overall game environment on the slate. Don't really mind playing him. But yeah, the slate overall is pretty tough in terms of salaries. Look at this range right here. You have Mitchell Robinson in 7K, where he should be if DeAndre Jordan is shut down, but still he's 7,100. The value for the most part is probably gone on Robinson, at least in terms of getting him in the 6 or 5K range. Andrew Wiggins is $7,100. He's been playing really well as of late, but he's $7,100. Thomas Bryant is $7,000. There's just guys all over the place who are now appropriately priced, but it makes it so that your value is really hard to come by. Cantor's touching 7,000. Goran Dragic, if all these guys are out at 6,800, I think that's still a fair price for him. But let's get into this range where there's just some crazy pricing. I think Moutier and Wright, those are both guys who are, if you're building a balanced lineup, very good to target. Both should be playing around 35 minutes today. But let's just get into this range. Al Horford, always fine. Bam, underpriced. Bam, probably one of the better plays on the slate just because he's one of those guys who isn't appropriately priced. Playing around 30 minutes a game, still only $6,400, power forward eligible. You could say somewhat of the same about Bobby Portis here. Been playing just up and down and streaky as of late, but it's pretty tough to find these power forward center eligible guys that are actually not overpriced or provide some value. Look at this. I mean, you have Shaq Harrison, $6,300. That's a little scary. Christian Wood is $6,300. This man was minimum price 2 games ago. And look, it makes sense. He's been super productive when he's out there coming off the bench, just absolutely dominating, pretty much throwing up double-doubles off the bench like it's nothing. But if Anthony Davis is indeed in today, and I sort of skipped over Davis here at 6,500. If Anthony Davis is indeed probable and in, that's 21 to 22 minutes that are going to be allocated differently. You already have, at the very least, I imagine, Diallo and Okafor are going to soak up 20 minutes. You have Randall, who will at least soak up 30 to 32. And then you have Anthony Davis soaking up 21 minutes. So what does that leave behind? Well, that's going to be leaving behind 20 minutes for Christian Wood. Say they just completely dust and check out Okafor today. So then he gets like 25 minutes. Like, he's not going to be around the 28 to 30 minute mark if Davis is in playing 21 minutes. There's just no minutes to go around. He will not be playing the 3. Randall, Okafor, and Diallo will not be playing the 3. At $6,300, he is a fine play. If Davis is out, he should play 30 minutes. If Davis is in, he'll probably play 21, 22, and that's scary. So, yeah, that's another guy who's just ridiculously priced. Davis, though, at $6,500, Anthony Davis is super interesting today. I hope he plays. $6,500, this is a guy who you can pretty much count on to get you 30 points in 21 minutes against Charlotte, who is going to be putting Willie Hernan-Gomez on Anthony Davis today. That's not good. Or Bismack Biyombo or Frank Kaminsky, Marvin Williams being doubtful. That's not good. Davis has a real opportunity to go for 40 points today, and at 6,500 in any format, I love that. And at the very least, if he scores you 35 points at 6,500, you're not kicking yourself, because the other guys in this range, for Al Horford to go for 35, you probably feel good about that, at least in cash. For Bobby Portis to go for 35, you're feeling good. Shaq Harrison, you're feeling good. All these other guys to go for 35 in this range, you feel good. Just because his name is Anthony Davis doesn't change that. If he goes for 35, which is probably the likeliest of outcomes at the minimum today, you're feeling really good about that. We can just keep going, and it just gets really a lot worse. You have Serge Ibaka, $6,200. Against Brooklyn is where you want to target. But look, he's going to be splitting minutes with Gasol still, who's $5,900, and it's pretty much like throwing a dart. One of them likely has a great game today. Which one? I have no idea. You're going to get more minutes out of Marc Gasol. At least that's what we've been seeing as of late. So you can go there if you want. Bruno Caboclo, who should see 34 minutes, who has been playing significantly better. But he's still Bruno Caboclo, is $6,000. You have Evan Fournier at $6,000, which is a little gross. Dion Waiters, who has been playing great with the time he's got, awful matchup for him today, he's $6,000. These prices have just been coming up insanely. Jamal Murray and Satoransky all offer pretty nice value today, in my opinion. We want to keep scrolling down. LeVert has been playing very well as of late. Keep an eye on him. But there's just really a lot of guys that are hard to get to for me. Bacon at $5,500 with Batum back playing his minutes, and also Lamb probable playing his minutes. That doesn't really excite me. Reggie Jackson, who probably will play 28 minutes today, or he could play 24 and split him with Ish Smith. $5,600 doesn't scream anything to me. Gordon Hayward at $5,300 becomes value. Really tough matchup against Miami. We're not expecting Jaylen Brown to play today, and Marcus Morris is questionable. Hayward should stabilize around 30 to 32 minutes. $5,300, lacking value. Rashawn Holmes, $5,200 is still fine. There's just a ton of guys who are priced up. Where's Lamont Jr., who's fucking $4,700 now? Same price as Luke Cornett. I'd rather have Cornett, but Lamont Jr. still in play against a very bad Washington team against the guards position. Should see 30-plus minutes at $4,700. He's still in play. But yeah, overall, none of this super exciting. Let me go to this, because I believe the video is up. And I just got to edit it. Yeah, that is all we have to do here, is just edit a video. Yeah, so, I mean, there's like 13 of you in here, I imagine, people watching the Osmo stream. So, yeah, just anything you want to do, you can just drop in a comment. I will react to it until I am done with this, and then I'm going to be done and go find some food. Draftkings NBA, what is today? Wednesday. What is today's date? 4/3. Picks. Psych to anybody who thinks I'm actually giving out picks. NBA DFS pick strategy. It's all about that SEO. Save. Bang. 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 What's going on, Nick? How are you doing, Nick? I'm just chilling, Nick. It's been a good morning. Crazy slate today. Probably I'm going to have to finish these projections once I'm done here. Absolutely crazy slate, but yeah, it's been a good morning. Wednesday, 4/3. Let's insert these NBA links. Any final questions from the 16 of you that are in here? Get them now, or just hit me up on Twitter. Either way works. If people want, you guys watch shows? Do you guys watch shows? Jesus Christ. Show called The Fix that my friend told me about. Great show. Watched all 3 episodes yesterday. Check it out. It's on ABC. You can watch it on demand. Really good show. About a lawyer who doesn't win a case, and then the guy kills again, and they're just trying to frame him. Really good show. Or not frame him, they're trying to get him. All right, save those changes. Let's go up here. What's up, Sal? Ready to cash out tonight? Yeah, Timmy. What's going on, Timmy Phillips? Yeah, it is going to be a tough slate, but it's going to be one where I strongly believe that there's a lot. 55 seconds till the video's up. Where I strongly believe that there's a lot of ways to cash out tonight. It's that simple, and I believe that the edge, if you're paying attention, will be a lot greater than on most nights. You will be able to ease your cash today if you put the work in like you usually do. It will just be more work, but less people will be willing to put that work in and be willing to keep up with news after lock. Once lock hits at 7, there's still 9, 10, 8, I don't know how many games exactly. We can look. Once lock hits, there is still 9 games that you have to pay attention to in terms of news locking. And then even up till 8, even once 8 hits, there's still 5 games on the slate. There's 3 10 o'clock games tonight. So there's a lot of work just to pay attention to in terms of your guys in your lineups could get late scratched, or there could be somebody getting late scratched. What is your favorite sport to play DFS, says Daryl Jones? That's a great question. So my entire life, like as if I was playing at 5 or 6 years old, but I was playing DFS in high school. I sucked. I pretty much donated my money to the foundation of Draftkings, the nonprofit. No, I'm just kidding. But I played NFL pretty much for like my last 2 years of high school, first year, freshman year of college, and I sucked. I was just picking players. I never really looked into it. I was just picking people based on name and game logs. I was terrible. I played NFL this year for the first time, like really focused, built spreadsheets, things like that, and I did well. I love the NFL in general. I hate that it's once a week. I mean, you could say the showdown slates make it 3 times a week, 4 times a week when later in the year on Saturdays. Showdown slates stink though, so it's once a week. NBA came around. I never played NBA outside of once every so often during the season, and I'd burn my money. Once I got really into the NBA and got good at it, started to find out how to gain some edges compared to the majority of people. I like NBA. NBA is my favorite DFS sport to play. It is quickly becoming one of my favorite sports overall. I don't have a favorite NBA team. My dad just was never into it, and I pretty much followed along whatever my dad did as a young kid. Yankees, Packers, Bruins, love those sports. NBA, I actually like not having a team. I like just sort of rooting for any team every night. NFL, though, is the most exciting in terms of you have to wait every single week. You have to wait for that one day where once the lineup's locked on a Sunday, it's just all football. That's my favorite in terms of just the feeling of it. But in terms of playing every single day, it's by far NBA. So that was a good question, Daryl. This video should be up now. Oh, it is. Let's just adjust this stuff and then I'll just answer this tag. Hold on. Help me out here. I can't catch a break on NBA draft. Oh, okay. What do we have? Sal, with all the late scratches and last minute changes with the NBA right now, do you recommend we roster several players with later tip-offs just to be safer, says Timmy. I think you should roster the best overall lineup you can make. I don't think you have to go out of your way to roster guys later on. I don't think that that's any real thing. We're gonna get all the news. 99% of the time, we will get the news before lock. If it is the 1% that doesn't happen, I don't think having them in a later game will really matter as much, because that doesn't really matter if you're getting it at 10:01 to 7:01. You're still getting it late. I think that you should have in your guard, forward, and flex position or utility spot, you should be having guys who are starting later on, 2 or 3 of them at least in there, and because you're probably not going to stack all the 7 p.m. games, and then be ready to adjust. If somebody gets ruled out at 10, and even if you don't have that player, if it opens up extreme value, be ready to hop onto that value and then go up somewhere else. I don't think that you should just be playing guys in the later slates and avoiding better plays because you're worried of more late scratches later on. I see what you're saying, because then you can get to more value plays in those later games. But I think that foregoing players who are more definite and you're not taking on the risk, because then if nobody gets scratched, you just let up a couple of nicer plays go by for no apparent reason for the most part. This video is about to be up in like probably 3 seconds. There we go. This just has to say publish. Help me out here. I can't catch a break on NBA DFS. Is Gilchrist Alexander a must today? No, Gilgeous-Alexander is by far not a must today. He's another guy whose price is too much for what his production is. He's $5,900. He is by far not a must today. He does not have a good matchup individually against Chris Paul. By no means does he have that. Look, he's been playing great. A couple of these games were without Lou Williams, were without Pat Beverly. I believe Beverly is back. Lou Williams is back. He's not resting as of right now. Gilgeous-Alexander has a very limited ceiling and a very shaky floor. He is by far not a must today. Nobody is really a must today. In terms of helping you on NBA DK, today is the slate that you're probably going to need the most help. We're all going to need help with. In terms of just trying to learn more about it, I have a free strategy guide down below. I have multiple playlists I have multiple strategy videos for the NBA, 2 or 3, in a playlist that is just on my channel. You can go to playlists and there's 3. So I'd say just watch those. Those are everything that I would tell you at least right now. Awesome. Thanks for answering my question. Yeah, no problem, Daryl. I love questions like that. I mean, everybody loves questions about sports related to them, favorite team, favorite player, whatever it might be. How did you get into this? People love answering that because they know the answers. All right, the video is up, or actually it might not be. Did I hit publish? The video is up. If you guys want to watch that, you can. I'll probably stay on for like 5 more minutes just because live streaming is a lot of fun. I love when I get to do it. It is not often by any means, but I like when I get to do it. Yeah, no problem, Javier. It is a tough slate today. If you win, if you lose today, do not take that hard or to heart because it is a extremely tough slate today. I probably will just be playing some single entries in cash because tournaments are going to be all over the place in terms of where ownership's not huge today, right? There's 12 games. Ownership is naturally going to be flattened out just because there's so many people to pick from. Some guys will elevate as usual because the media and articles and just whatever media will be on them to elevate them. That's how ownership builds. Everybody jumps on a player's back and thinks they're a better play, which usually they probably are in the NBA, but more so, you're not going to have to worry about that as much today. So I would just go through, try and build the exact best lineup you can. Avoid max tournaments if you're not max entering, and just stick to single entries and try and build the best lineup you can. Even if you think it's chalky, it's probably not because you're just going to naturally get guys below 5% because it's just that many players on the slate. A small tip, target the games that matter today. Minutes are more stable. Yeah, Evan, that makes sense, right? Targeting the games that are important today. So those 4 teams in the East that are battling for the last 3 playoff spots, some teams in the West battling for individual seedings. But I wouldn't say put too much weight into that. I know it makes sense to target those games because you're going to get the most out of them. But there's 12 games on this slate. Unless you're playing 150 lineups and trying to capture those 6% of games that go into overtime, you should not be stacking any games today. It's just that simple. There's just no reason to because 1, the prices are tight, so it's probably hard to stack. And 2, there's 24 teams on the slate. You're probably going to find better options elsewhere, unless the game goes to OT, which again, if you're playing 1 lineup or a few lineups, you're probably taking on a huge risk putting all your eggs into a thing that goes to OT. You might as well just bet the game's going to OT on whatever bookie for plus 500 or whatever it is. So in terms of targeting the games that actually matter, yeah, sure, you can do that. But for the most part, these games, even if the spread indicates a blowout, these games, the guys are still getting their rotations. They're still getting their minutes. It's just different guys in those rotations, but we're able to project what the rotations are because we get that news beforehand. Today, as of right now, we're waiting on some news, but for the most part, we know what the rotations are going to look like today, and they haven't really been shaken up during the game. Christian Wood, the one game, playing for 32 minutes when he hadn't played none, really is the only rotation that's been crazy. We had that showdown slate with the Bucks and Atlanta this weekend when Atlanta just went and won in overtime on Trae Young. Now, obviously, both of those rotations were all over the place, but we got the injury news before. We got the starting lineup news before. We didn't expect Tim Frazier to play all 53 minutes. We didn't expect Bonzi, whatever his friggin' name is, to play 47 or 48. But again, that was on a showdown slate. Nobody really played that, and for the most part, those guys had 8 guys available. We can kind of see it coming. I think targeting games that matter makes sense in terms of getting more stable minutes out of guys. Like D'Angelo Russell should play around 34 minutes today instead of 30 like he would if the game didn't matter. Or 28. So yeah, things like that make sense. But overall, I don't think you should just zone in on that. I won't really be keeping that in mind. If I'm choosing between 2 players to get into my lineup last and that comes into play, then maybe that gives it an edge. I can say, okay, I feel more comfortable about the minutes. But I'm still looking at things such as just the pace, such as the defensive matchup, my projections on them, and things like that. I'm going to DM you shortly via Discord. I'm interested in becoming a Patreon, but have no clue how to read the projections. Haha. Will you guide me after I sign up? Yeah, Daryl Jones. I could definitely do that. I have NBA projections. I will have NBA projections all throughout the playoffs. They will actually be a lot easier to make since we won't have 12-game slates that are shaky. But yeah, if you sign up on Patreon, I can guide you through the projections. Believe it or not, you haven't probably seen them yet, but they're very simple. There's a ton of data in there that kind of changes the projection, but the last two columns are highlighted, and I could show you it right here. The projections aren't official yet today, so you can take these numbers and think they're good, but I haven't changed minutes and things like that, so these numbers are all going to change. But this is the projections. So all you're seeing right here, is points per minute on the season. This is something that I can adjust based on the matchup today, the salary, target value for today, their usage. These are just stats, the minutes per game. Minutes projection is something that I do. I take care of that for you. I project minutes. I use my own intuition plus other sites sort of benchmark, but I try not to get groupthink. I try and just stick with what I believe. Team and opponent, defense versus position. If this number is above 1, it means it's a good matchup. That means the team is below average. If it's below 1, it means they're a better team in terms of it's a harder matchup for that player. Team pace, the game pace for today and the differential. So this just shows you if this number is above 1, is it a pace up spot? If it is, if it's above 1, it is. If it's below 1, it's a pace down spot. You can look at that from the target offense sheet. Game total, so just how much they're projected to score today overall, how much the team's projected to score based on how much, and then how much they project to score on average on the entire season. The differential there, so are they supposed to score more points than today? If it's over 1, that means yes. If it's below 1, that means no. And then you just have value. So it's just a bunch of stats, but really the only thing you have to focus on, and I update this throughout the day, is the projected points for today. And keep in mind, these are median projections. If this was for GPPs, you would have to set a standard deviation and then see how far the ceiling is for these guys, and then projected value. So you want to target things like above 4. But these are not my, like, you could take these for today. I'm just telling you, these are not correct. I haven't adjusted the points per minute yet. I have, believe, put in most of the minutes, but yeah. What's going on with Luka? So yeah, Daryl, you can hit me up on Discord. I could definitely walk you through that. That's pretty much the walkthrough for the most part. Okay, yeah, definitely DM me for sure, Daryl. I could help you as much as you need. What's going on with Luka? I mean, I just think he's got whatever he's dealing with, his groin. What is Luka dealing with? Let's go back to the injury dashboard. Luka's dealing with a thigh injury. So, yeah, I mean, he had a foot earlier. I think he's just dealing with an injury, and he's a rookie who's phenomenal, and they're not trying to push him because none of ththese games matter. The only thing that really matters is maybe the rookie of the year for him, if people believe that Trae Young has actually been better than him, which is ridiculous. Trae Young, I play better defense. That's a lie, but I probably do. Taking home the grand prize, says Big Brody. I hope so. Mike Love Thyself says, can you briefly describe what standard deviation is? Yeah, so standard deviation is just how much, it's really just like the range of outcomes on a player. So how likely, and you could set a standard deviation that's flat for every single player, and then you'll just get a standard deviation that is the same for every single player. That's fine, but that's probably not great. And this is just another level. This is really if you're entering max lineups and trying to make an optimizer work better for you in tournaments. Every single player has their own different standard deviation. Russell Westbrook and James Harden's outcomes for a night, their ceilings, are much different than, let's just look at guys on here. They're much different than Luka's. Like, Luka's ceiling is in the 60s when those guys, clearly, we saw last night and the night before, are in the 80s. Their range of outcomes is much different. Now, based on their projection, it might not be that different, but you're pretty much just finding a standard deviation of 1 or so. It could be 10% of the total points. That's sort of one that's pretty standard across the board. So if somebody is projected to score 60, James Harden is projected to score 60 today, you take 10% of that, it's 6, and you pretty much, you add that to like both sides, or you divide it, add it, and you get a number, and then you could find the ceilings, you could find the standard deviation. It just makes it so that when it factors into a projection system, instead of just using that number, which is 66, it factors in the randomness or the standard deviation to sort of build lineups if a bunch of different outcomes were to happen, instead of just that one static number. It says, okay, well, what if this time he doesn't score the 66, he goes up in his range, what will the lineup look like? Or he goes a little bit down. That's how it works in terms of building a ton of lineups. Savage Got Game, who is your favorite player today? I mentioned this earlier, no idea. Most days, I have no idea who my favorite player is by this time. Today, there is no way in heck I know who my favorite player is. There's so many games. There's so many players on the questionable mark. I have not built a lineup. The salaries are so tight. I could tell you early on that Ben Simmons looks extra nice, and so does Rudy Gobert, based on their prices and based on the salaries are for many other players. But favorite play, in a vacuum, it's James Harden. But I can't be that cheesy, right? I can't just say the highest priced player who's projected for 60 points is my favorite play. It's not. It's hard to get to James Harden today. So I don't know who my favorite play is. I haven't built a lineup. I won't build a lineup if I even play tonight until 6, 5, until we have more news. Early on, I do like Ben Simmons, though. But again, can you really get to Ben Simmons, whose ceiling is probably in the 60s, and build a lineup that you feel comfortable around? I'm personally, early on, looking at being more balanced across the board. Sorry, I'm answering some messages. All right. What do we got here? Thanks, Sal. I've seen it before when looking at projections. Never understood it, though. Yeah, and I probably did not explain it in the greatest sense because I personally don't enter max tournaments, and I don't have to worry about standard deviation, and I personally don't calculate standard deviation because I just do median projections. That is something that I would like to do if I build my bankroll or have a career in this and need to know more about it. But yeah, no problem. Josh Jackson has to be in my lineup with D. Russell. What do you think? I think D. Russell is in a position where he should be getting as many minutes as he needs today. I would not be shocked if he plays 36 minutes today. They need to win this game. The spread is only 1.5, which leads me to believe that maybe Kawhi is resting today or maybe Kyle Lowry. It's too close. Toronto should not only be 1.5-point favorites over Brooklyn. That is way too close of a spread in my opinion. But I don't think D'Angelo Russell is by any means a lock. $9,100, I'd rather pay $400 more and get Ben Simmons. I'd rather honestly save $900 more, whatever it is, or $700 more and get Trae Young. But again, I have not built a lineup. If you can get to D'Angelo Russell and get a lot of better pieces, that's fine. I think Josh Jackson is fine at his price point. He should get 30 minutes. He does have a ceiling on him, but he's just another guy who's sort of meh to me right now. Aaron says, Sal, doing MLB daily now. Haven't seen much from you yet. Hello? I'm not right now. I'm trying to, but I can't. I'm one person. It takes me just to do NBA research and videos 3 to 4 hours a day, not even trying to build my own lineups. I probably put 5 hours a day into NBA alone. So once the MLB playoffs are here in a week or so, I will then focus more on MLB. I personally don't like MLB as much. It's very much a max enter or somebody who has a big bankroll sport. Now, I mean, you could play the 25-cent, 50-cent tournaments and put $75 in and get your max entries in that way, or 20 max for $1 and put $20 in. But it's very much a stack this lineup. It's pretty straightforward. Find the valuable pitchers, stack these lineups that are supposed to score a lot of runs today, and put in a bunch of different variations of that into a tournament. It's pretty straightforward. Like, I can cover that in 10 to 15 minutes, but in terms of keeping up with all the news, keeping up with the lineups, keeping up with what the pitchers' stats are, and early in the year when we don't really have true data on these players, we're using last year's, which people have changed ballparks. People have changed teams. Pitchers have made adjustments. For me right now, with the NBA going, I'm just focusing on NBA, but I will be covering MLB to some extent shortly. I think Alex Len at $5,500 is fine. I wish he was power forward eligible. What do you think of Joe Ingles and Aaron Gordon? More guys who are just meh to me. Gordon, I think $7K. I don't know what Ingles is. But these are guys that I haven't looked into. The slate I have not looked into in terms of building lineups. But neither of them stand out to me as in terms of a priority or somebody that I'm dying to roster. All right. This stream went on way longer than I thought it would. The video is up. It should be up. Let's see if anybody's viewed it. So no. Yeah, so the video is up. I'm going to end this stream. head over to Twitter if you want to help me out with this little contest here, trying to get me a little awareness. But yeah, I'm going to end it. Peace out. Hope you guys have a great day. Hope you girls have a great day. Peace.